Good afternoon, everyone, and a very warm welcome back to the last day of our Retail Tech Day. This is a much awaited session that we have lined up for us. And before we invite both our speakers for a wonderful discussion, just a quick roundup of, yesterday the whole conversation was about talent and how the phase of talent is changing in the whole retail tech industry and what is it looking like. Today we focus on e-commerce in the crisis and change. We all know that e-commerce has revolutionized how things are bought and sold around the world. E-commerce has integrated multiple sectors to offer value to the customers, has led to a major shift in spending patterns and consumer behaviors. And to have this intense discussion and a much awaited one, I would like to invite Devjani Ghosh, President NASSCOM, in a fireside chat with Kunal Bell. I believe both of them really don't need too much of an introduction. And with that, I would really like to bring both of them on screen for the discussion. And Devjani, I'd like to hand it over to you from here.
Thank you, Kritika. And it's always a pleasure to have my favorite entrepreneur, thought leader in the hot seat. Welcome, Kunal, and thank you so much for taking the time to have this conversation with us.
Thank you, Devjani, and thank you, Kritika. Always a pleasure to be here.
So Kunal, first of all, congratulations are due. 10 years of Snapdeal. Huge. I mean, what an amazing journey it has been. What an absolutely fabulous journey it has been. The last 6 months included, which was, I think, despite the roller coaster ride, it was tremendous learning. And you, I think, have come out of it much stronger than ever. And some 30 million plus consumers, if I'm not wrong, or users, if I'm not wrong. So, Kunal, talk to us. We have a lot of young entrepreneurs in this forum. Talk to us a little bit about the journey from a startup to truly a tech giant today, right? And what are some of the highlights? What were some of the lowlights, key takeaways for you?
Yeah, thanks, Devjani, again for the kind introduction. I think while you said we started as a startup 10 years ago, but I still think and operate like our business still thinks and operates like a startup. So startup is more like a mindset to me and not really an age, something determined by the age of the organization. I think what we have really benefited from over the last few years is the fact that when we started 10 years ago, there were maybe 20-30 million internet users in India. And post 2016, there was really a step function. Post Jio, 4G, Airtel, everyone coming in. And that has materially accelerated the adoption of just e-commerce in general. And look, so much of entrepreneurship is about doing the work, showing up every day, and just sometimes waiting for good things to happen. So in our case, I think there's been a tremendous amount of hard work that our team has put in over the last many years. I think some amount of serendipity has also benefited us. But no entrepreneurial journey, as you said, is linear. There are obviously always going to be ups and downs, twists and turns, and we've had our share of them as well. But fortunately for us, our culture is very, very strong and resilient. And I think we've always found the courage to carry on and continue and power through the troughs and staying sort of steady, resolute. So I'm very proud of the culture we've built, a culture that is really determined by trust, transparency, resilience. Many people may not know that the average tenure of a team member at our company is over 5 years. That's the average, which in the broader startup space seems like a generation.
Yeah.
Average in the ecosystem, maybe 12 to 18 months. I think that's significantly determined by just the type of culture and transparency we have. And obviously, one is very fortunate to work with the very talented colleagues, mentors, investors, etc. I think the big tectonic plate shift that has happened, and I think we are in the midst of that. And a few years later, we look back during this period and reflect on it as a period where there was a big shift that happened, which is we've gone from maybe the first 100 million e-commerce buyers up till a couple of years ago to now maybe 150, 200 million e-commerce buyers in India, most of whom are now, majority of whom now belong to the small towns and the metros. And as you said, like over the last 1 year, we had over 30 million e-commerce buyer or consumers who bought on Snapdeal something. I think in the month or last month, we had over 80 million people who came to our platform. So and the interesting thing is that 85-90% of our customers are not in the metros. So while you and I may not see a lot of Snapdeal advertising, but there are a lot of people who actually do buy from Snapdeal across these small towns because they find us a lot more relevant. So the last 10-year journey, just going back to your question, has actually been an incredibly rewarding one. And despite the many twists and turns that are part and parcel of any founder's journey, I think we consider ourselves truly blessed to be where we are now.
Yeah, someone was telling me if you don't die a few deaths a day as an entrepreneur, then you're half an entrepreneur. You know? And
I
you
think
definitely.
well said. Well said.
Yeah, you've definitely had your share, especially the last 6 months. And I've had the opportunity to sort of see the kind of changes you all have had to make to your business. You know, so COVID, yes, it disrupted everybody's business, uh, but it was also a great accelerator for a lot of businesses, and definitely e-commerce. It has accelerated e-commerce significantly. But Kunal, you could not have accelerated your business if you had followed the same old playbook. You had to make a lot of changes in order to keep business running, to keep business continuity up. What were some of those most challenging moments, and what were some of those most difficult changes that you had to make?
Yeah, I mean, one could write a book at this point about the last 6 months, but I remember vividly, like early part of, I think end February, I created a WhatsApp group between our head of HR, head of admin, our communications head, etc., saying, sort of just contingency, right? Like, because back then there was no talk of lockdowns,
Yeah,
nothing. It
yeah.
was like maybe mid-February. And I remember my first message on that WhatsApp group was, I don't think we will need this, but just in case, I'm creating this group in case something goes really south with this whole Corona thing. And it became, as you would imagine, the subsequent weeks and months became the most active WhatsApp group on my phone. So I think none of us expected it. I remember very vividly the day the lockdowns were announced. I think Prime Minister Modi was still talking, and the moment he said 21 days, I pinged our leadership team on our WhatsApp group, and I said we are doing a call in 10 minutes. Please everyone join. And in 10 minutes, we were all on a call, just reacting real time about what all do we need to do tonight and tomorrow, to just account for this. First thing we did was just cut all marketing. Like we did that within a matter of minutes. We said there's no point in spending millions and millions of dollars on marketing when we don't even know whether the customers will get the product.
Yeah.
And all that money may get spent very wastefully. The second thing was around supply chain. Let's talk to our supply chain partners and see how are they going to deal with the many hundreds of thousands of products and orders that were in transit. How will they get treated? And then most importantly, figuring out how do we inform the team that what is going to happen. Are we going to be working from home? Are we going to be working remotely? For how long? Because it was so new for everyone. So I think but we quickly moved into motion, set up a proper business continuity protocol in place, and I think that really helped. But overall, I feel, just back to the point of culture, just because we have an incredibly transparent culture, if I were to reflect back outside of the first week or two, we didn't really have that much of an issue with respect to productivity. I know everyone talks about it, but there is an element of productivity and then there's an element of collaboration. I've seen people may be productive at an individual level, doesn't mean that the organizations are being collaborative. And I think we benefited there, and it helped us to move fast and problem solve. but it was, there's some really interesting anecdotes. I remember, like, one time we figured out a big problem we were facing. This your the participants today may find this amusing almost, where a lot of trucks were stuck at the borders
Yeah.
with e-commerce packages, and after 2, 3, 4 days the truck drivers needed clothes, so they just started opening the various e-commerce packages in the back of the trucks and started wearing the shoes and the clothes, and I can't even blame them. Right? They started looking for, like, shampoos and whatnot in the e-commerce packets that they were carrying. But that also meant that, the customer was not going to get those products, and someone was going to pay for them, and it was not going to be the truck drivers. So we had to deal with a lot of those type of operational issues of transportation. And then I think, but those are more problem solving, troubleshooting kind of things. And we quickly moved from the troubleshooting zone, because it's very easy to be in a perpetual fire drill as a
Yeah.
company during times of crisis, and forget that you are actually not there to only fix fires or douse fires, but actually build a company. And you can't be away from the company building process for weeks and months. And we realize that this will likely be a volatile year, while, as you said in the preface, that e-commerce is scaling up everywhere in the world, etc. My personal view is that I think India is going to see a far more erratic trajectory of e-commerce adoption in the near term. In the medium term, I think there is no doubt it's going to be upwards and towards the right. I think in the
Why do you say that, Kunal? Why erratic in the near term?
I think there are a few things. One is, we continue to see a lot of supply chain issues because we have
Yes.
localized erratic lockdowns that continue to happen across the country. They're still continuing. Like I saw yesterday night, Tamil Nadu extended its lockdown to October 31st. And, while there may be exceptions made for, like, e-commerce may be carved out, but there is always, it's inescapable. When a lockdown
Yeah.
happens,
Yeah. Yeah.
operational issues
Yeah.
happen. This year, we've had tremendous amount of floods across the country. That has compounded the volatility. And then the final aspect, I would say, is just the economy itself. At some level, the consumers are worried about their income and their job security, and they are going to likely hold back some purchases for the time being. We can't expect that, a lot of consumers will the consumers will be spending at the same speed and quantum as they were earlier, at a time when there's a severe contraction in the economy. So retail businesses, marketplaces like ours are not immune to the vacillations of the economy given our scale. So I think we will show some indexation to the economy for the time being. That said, I think on a more positive note, look, these are some things that we can't do much about, but we then focus on things we can do something about, which is, how can we build capabilities during this time that can drive future growth when things come back on track, the operational issues have been sorted, the economy is back on track. I feel that companies always, when they're trying to move fast, there's always plumbing that gets broken along the way or is just missing, and this is the time to fix that and address that. We've been spending a lot of energy building capabilities that can drive future growth, like in technology. We fast tracked many projects. We fast tracked our vernacular language projects to ensure that we can cater to a larger audience of internet users. We invested tremendously over the last few months in creating new channels of doing customer support, because the next 100, 200, 300 million e-commerce buyers are more comfortable asking questions on WhatsApp than, calling someone
Yeah.
or going to an app and going through a complex flow to get a query addressed. So a lot of streamlining of various processes has been underway, which is in a way like tech or process or operational debt that racks up in any business, which we are addressing right now. And I think this will create stronger foundations for our business and other businesses also that may be doing the same as we come out of this period.
On that note, Kunal, you talked about the future, and if we think about the next few years, what do you think are going to be some of the biggest disruptions we will have to, or changes that you will have to deal with? Is it consumer behavior that's going to change pretty dramatically, or is it going to be regulation? technology changes, business model changes. What do you think are going to be some of those critical changes that will impact the business? And if you could talk a bit about, the key ones.
Yeah, I think whenever anyone asks me about what will change, I often say I don't like what will not change. So I think everything will change. I feel on just to quickly talk about things. I think consumer behavior will change for the better. Where more from a context of e-commerce, I think there'll be greater
But
penetration.
isn't loyalty going out of the window?
Um, It probably is, right? Probably is, but that doesn't mean companies can't do like better companies will do better on loyalty than companies who don't invest behind building loyalty.
True,
Loyalty
true.
gets built by a better experience, at least in the marketplace retail standpoint, better selection, better customer support, etc. I feel that one of the big changes specifically that we are going to see is a big shift away from like the new e-commerce buyers who are coming online, the next 100 200 million will likely be far more value focused. They wouldn't want to pay a premium for brands. They would want to buy good quality products but which are not necessarily charging a bomb, because the lower we go in the income demographic in our country, the lesser affordability is there, but there is no lack of aspiration. So consumers may not be willing to spend 2,000 rupees for a black round neck T-shirt, but they may be willing to still spend 300 400 rupees to buy a similar quality T-shirt, but which doesn't have any brand signage on it, which is very visible. So we are seeing a big shift in that direction where the brand premiums seem to be under threat, right? And that's I think great because it provides a very egalitarian opportunity to local manufacturers, local sellers to also excel online. I feel regulations will change quite significantly. We are seeing signs of that already. I think India's picked the right business model to support in e-commerce, which is the marketplace model, so that it provides enough access to small businesses to excel online. I think it's going to drive a shift of more small businesses coming online. I feel competition will keep getting acute. More competition, more global entities, more Indian entities will jump in. However, the market is also incredibly large. We are looking at if India's retail GDP is going to be 2 trillion in the next 7 8 years, 10% of that at least will be online. So we are looking at $200 billion plus market. So there's enough for enough people, enough consumers in this space, and within that, I feel the unbranded, local branded selection will in the end make the largest part of Indian e-commerce sales. And then finally, I think the other big shift we are going to see is that the e-commerce models of the past were extremely capital expense heavy, a lot of very asset heavy. I think the e-commerce companies of now and the future will be essentially very asset light businesses, where they'll be very entrepreneurial technology companies, logistics companies, customer support companies that'll do what they are best at and let the e-commerce companies manage the platforms. So I think there will be many changes that will likely happen over the next many years, and I find it particularly very exciting. I think the big capability all the platform companies, e-commerce platform companies, will need to build will be around AI, data science, which helps them in more cost-effective customer acquisition, customer retention. We talked about loyalty, increasing operational efficiency, because this is completely a business of keeping your variable costs low. Even using robots to manage inventory in the warehouses better. So I think a lot of things that seem like these things don't happen in India or won't happen in India because we have a lot of people to solve the problem. I think those notions are clearly going out of the window as we speak, and the youngest of the youngest companies are deploying cutting edge technology these days.
Yeah, that's going to be your differentiator, right? Because the better you understand your customer, the better you can differentiate. And I think if there's one technology that for me stands out in retail, it's analytics. It's customer analytics. Kunal, there's one excellent secret about Snapdeal that very few people know about. And that is that around 85% of your customer base comes from small cities and towns. There are very few people who actually realize that or know about that. I mean, one, how difficult is it? You're really catering to what everybody likes to call Bharat in their PPT slides and presentations, but you're living in Bharat and you're actually catering to Bharat. So how different, I won't say difficult, but how different is it? And two, I'm just seeing all the questions coming in. There are a lot of questions on what's your game plan versus the giants like Tata's and, Reliance is coming into. Is this going to be a competitive advantage that you're going to build out? The fact that you're already there entrenched in the small cities?
Sure. No, that's a great question. I feel that there is, because the e-commerce and the tech space gets so much press coverage, everyone has an opinion about it, an opinion about the competitive landscape. I can tell you, if you talk to any business person running any company of scale and consequence in our country, they will say that their market is very competitive. I don't think the monopolies exist in any sector. I don't think we have one two-wheeler company or one IT services company or one steel manufacturer in our country. I think every business is competitive because there are many very enterprising people out there who see the opportunity. But the key is to build differentiation, and differentiation comes with focus and discipline. And our focus on ensuring that we are catering in the best possible way in a focused manner to these consumers who live in small towns, who are extremely aspirational but don't have the same level of buying power than maybe urban consumers may have. And then understanding very deeply what excites them, what are they looking for. So we've done a tremendous amount of work in crafting our platform from a demand standpoint in a manner that it's most relevant for this audience. What I mean by that is most of the traditional e-commerce companies that have been around for 20, 25 years, they are highly intent-driven platforms where you go to their app or website, search for something with high degree of predictability, you'll find it and you'll check out. It's a just quick in and out experience. Our experience, and this is just one example, is diametrically opposite. Our experience is all about discovery. In the more traditional e-commerce model, maybe 85% of all purchases or checkouts start with search. In our case, only 15% start with search. 85% are all browsing and discovery related. So our entire platform has been designed to aid discovery using videos and social nudges and various other like games. We have a lot of games on our platform. So we now have news on our platform, which seems so bizarre if you think about it. But this is basis our research that consumers in Bharat don't really have a big distinction between this app does this and that app does that. I think for them, all these lines are very blurry, and it can sometimes be a little flabbergasting for companies to transcend these boundaries that are there in the consumer's mind. So I think on the supply side, we are very focused on catering in a narrow price band. Like average purchase on our platform is for 500 rupees, right? On other platforms, their promise is very different. Their promise is about certainty that you come, whatever you want, you will get, right? And that could be a 50,000 rupee washing machine to 500 rupee or 1,000 rupee diaper. We are very clear. We are here for discretionary purchases in that 500 rupee bucket. If you want a t-shirt, we will show you t-shirts in that 2, 3, 400 rupee bucket. We will not show you t-shirts in the 3, 4,000 rupee bucket. And we know that maybe alienates a certain segment of consumers, but we also know that attracts a certain segment of consumers more to us. And then on the cost structure, we've ensured that we have a very, very lean cost structure. We have the highest revenue per employee probably across the startup ecosystem, right? Last year, our revenue per employee was, maybe over $150,000, $200,000 per employee, which is huge for our industry. Where
absolutely, and that's a good place to be in.
Yeah, the companies are not seen to be very capital efficient, as you know. So if you think about it, we serve 30 million unique buyers who transacted multiple times a year with 700 people, right? So I think just having very, very lean cost structure so that the benefits of the low cost structure can be passed on to these consumers who are buying low priced items. Because if you have an unwieldy cost structure, you will not be able to serve these consumers at the price points at which they want to get served. So I think there's a lot of innovation that happens in pockets and in the details of a business, which from the outside I can understand, where everyone says all of this is e-commerce, what's the difference, right? But when you think about segments of consumers, India being the acutely heterogeneous market it is, if you're going after a large enough heterogeneous segment, if you sharply cater to their needs, you will create enough differentiation.
Fantastic points, Kunal, and absolutely agree. There's another trend I want your perspective on. Especially in the last 6 months, when a lot of shops had to close down because communities locked down, etc. We saw the boundaries between online and offline pretty much going away. In fact, the two were coming together, where a lot of these mom and pop, small local vendors, shops were actually tying up with e-commerce platforms so that they can continue with their business and they can sell their wares using your platforms. So, is that a trend you see continuing? Is that going to be the next version of e-commerce, or e-commerce 2.0, or whatever comes next? Is that a trend that you and is that a good trend?
Yeah, absolutely. I think retail, the traditional retail was retail 1.0, organized retail was retail 2.0, then the traditional e-commerce was retail 3.0, and the next is this blurry lined retail between online and offline, which is called retail 4.0. And I'm sure in due course we'll have 5 and 6.0 also. I think the trend we are seeing is a trend that India needs. It's not only a trend that trend that India will see, but it's also a trend that India absolutely needs, because we are a country of SMEs. We are a country which employs 300-400 million people across the small retailers in the country and small manufacturers in the country, and we need to give them a platform to supply locally and sell nationally. And hence, I think these blurring lines between online and offline is bound to happen, but also needs to happen, so that we don't leave anyone behind in the process of the growth in the e-commerce sector. And then obviously, I think there is an amalgamation that's happening between the small retailer and the e-commerce platforms, and then there's an amalgamation happening between the large brands and large retailers, organized retailers, and the e-commerce platforms also. My belief is, in the former, the small retailers and manufacturers will largely use e-commerce platforms to do their fulfillment and demand generation. In the latter case, where large brands work with e-commerce platforms, there'll be a lot of other interesting business models about store pickup and store returns, etc., which we may not see in the former, but that's also fine. But I see the future of all of these three: traditional retail, organized retail, e-commerce, to be completely bound to each other.
Yeah, I think that's a very important change that as a country we have to take note of, because a lot of these policies that we create, the regulations that we come up with, are very siloed, online, offline. I think what we have to now prepare for is a blended model where the two are going to come together, just like education or healthcare or any other vertical. So I think that's a very important one to take note of. There are a lot of questions, Kunal, on the use of technology in retail, and what's the right use, and where should you, put technology, especially AI. There are a lot of questions on use of AI in retail. So what's your advice to the young entrepreneurs who are building out their startups in this space? How should they think of technology?
Yeah, I think you can either build a technology company, right, which provides technology as a service to others, or you can build a business that uses technology. So maybe I'll briefly talk about both. I generally see entrepreneurs, like I would say 70% of entrepreneurs want to hear ideas around the latter, because that doesn't require deep technical expertise. Like, what's the business that I can run using technology versus what is the technology that I can build? And I think there'll be 30% who want to talk about what technology they should build. So on the first bucket, I feel that there are probably three areas where I feel that a lot of technology will be put to good use in creating pretty valuable businesses in our country. One is direct to consumer brands. India is highly underserved from a brand standpoint. We don't have enough high quality brands in our country. And what the whole e-commerce technology infrastructure is doing is helping folks who otherwise were maybe suppliers to brands or would have found it very hard to get distribution through offline retail to build brands of their own and reach out to consumers directly. Second area, and this could be like FMCG brands, it could be diaper brands, it could be all kinds of brands. The second area where I'm seeing a tremendous amount of innovation is agri-related e-commerce. 50% of India's fresh produce is wasted every year due to lack of appropriate market linkages, a lack of infrastructure. So I think a lot of technology will be put to use to solve this very big problem. And then finally, I would say B2B e-commerce, like more broadly. B2B e-commerce is still set in older times. There are few vendors who supply the usual needs. Now, even the government, as you know, is using its the government e-marketplace platform to save, I read,
Yeah.
somewhere $1 billion a year to broaden its procurement funnel. So I feel there is tremendous amount of innovation that's happening in making commerce between businesses, small and large, more efficient using technology. Now, on the tech, so this is more on what businesses one can do using technology, and then with respect to within technology, what technology can you build within technology businesses? I feel that there is a tremendous opportunity to build supply chain technology, particularly supply chain technology, just
That's the
because.
critical need of the hour.
Yeah, I've seen it is so broken in our country. Like supply
Yeah.
chain is so broken in our country. And as entrepreneurs, they should see this as a tremendous opportunity to innovate and solve problems. I mean, we have for instance, we've seen during this time, Snapdeal has a subsidiary called Unicommerce, which provides a platform, warehouse management services platform. And they've seen a huge uptick during this time because you have a lot of mom and pop or SME or almost enterprise grade retailers or merchants who now want to use technology because they realize they can't run their businesses on Excel and on some khata. And so they are using technology. So I feel that there are similarly lots and lots of opportunities out there, particularly on supply chain. So I'd love to see more supply chain logistics related technology companies start, which can provide this technology to other e-commerce businesses.
Yeah, that's a brilliant advice, and a segment which will have tremendous tailwind in the next few years at least. I know we are out of time, Kunal, but there's one fabulous question that I have to absolutely ask you. How old were you when you started Snapdeal, and what made you start it? Did you just wake up one day and said, "This is it. This is my calling in life"?
No, I was 23 when I started, and I think I'm a big believer in serendipity. So many things in my the only things whenever you were being so gracious with all the nice things you said, Devjani, in the beginning, but I can tell you when I look back over the last 10, 12 years, the only two things I remember are moments of serendipity and moments of failure. I tend to not remember anything else. I don't remember like moments when I jumped up with joy because of some big success. I just have no recollection of any one such moment. Like people would argue, oh, when you raise your first round of funding, were you joyous? I don't think I was, because suddenly I was so stressed about what to do. Now I have to build a business, I have to return this money and all that. But I think that there are many moments of serendipity and failures along the way, which have been sort of gratifying in their own sense. So I continue to believe in both of those. Like we've met very serendipitously. Like Intel was an investor in our company, and then we had met in the context of that, and then one thing led to the other. So many things have happened. Great things have happened purely serendipitously. Like I think my meeting with Mr. Tata, which was a very defining moment in my journey as an entrepreneur, was purely serendipitous. And I think And I think as an entrepreneur, one should not get too worked up about creating those big milestones of joyous success and celebration. I think just taking one day at a time and not worrying too much about the outcomes and just putting in the work and hoping for the best. I think that tends to work out fine.
Brilliant. I know the way I'll sum it up, Kunal, you're a very old soul in a young person's body and mind.
My wife tells me the same thing.
Always a pleasure talking to you, Kunal, and this was such a fabulous conversation. I mean, every time I talk to you, there's a new thing I pick up or a new thing I learn. So, thank you so much for taking the time, and really appreciate it.
Thank you, Devjani. Thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure. And thank you, Kritika, and thank you to the NASSCOM team.
Back to
Thank
you,
you, Kunal. Thank you, Kunal. Thank you, Devjani. This was phenomenal. Thank you so much.
Yes.
And now I'm sure everyone enjoyed that wonderful session, and we have more in store for you. And we'll move into our panel on the advent of retail 4.0, online and offline. Is it the new normal for e-commerce? Right? We've given Achyuta a pretty hard time on this topic, and we've asked him to, really drive this conversation from multiple sides. And I'm sure we've literally harassed him. So Achyuta, thank you so much. And with that, I'd like to, call Achyuta Ghosh, Head of Research for NASSCOM, to take this panel discussion forward and introduce the panelists. Achyuta, thank you so much for being with us. It's all yours from here.
Thank you. Thank you, Kritika. Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. I think the previous session had Kunal and Devjani. They actually set up this follow-up discussion very beautifully. But a little bit of context before we get in. I think the Indian retail market today is the 5th largest in the world, about 800 to 900 billion dollars, growing at about 6 to 7%. As compared to India's GDP, it's almost 30% relative share, and the value addition to India's GDP is almost 10%. So it's a big, big sector for India. It contributes almost 8 to 9% of employment within India itself. And the market itself is 50-50 split between global and rural markets, as we know. In this retail market, online retail, the segment we want to talk about is actually growing at about 20-25% every year. So it's growing at about 5x higher than the overall market. But given all that, the share of online market, online e-commerce is only 5 to 7%. So it's a small drop in the overall retail ocean in India. So if you look at evolution of the market, like what Kunal also mentioned, retail 1.0 was the traditional retail that we know. Retail 2.0 was the phase where NASSCOM describes as modern retail, hypermarkets coming in. Retail 3.0 is where the e-commerce and online marketplaces started coming in. Today, we believe that changes in overall consumer behavior, technology advancements, the value proposition, competitive pressures, they are creating new market opportunities. And these new market opportunities can be best addressed through enhanced collaborative approach between traditional offline and modern online retailers. This is what we call as retail 4.0. And collaborative areas can be in many areas, right? I mean, it can be supply chain, it can be logistics, branding, marketing, new markets, digitization, new technology, analytics, all will come in to create an omni-channel, customer experience, a seamless technology-enabled customer experiences. So the best part is that it's not something which has not started. It's already started according to us. It's already happening all around us. And to talk about online plus offline, we have three great speakers over here, right? First up, Jayan Chandran Venugopal, Chief Product Officer and Technology Officer at Flipkart, 20 years plus experience in technology domain across cloud, web, health tech, e-commerce. In his role as product officer at Flipkart, he leads a team which is spanning, product management, engineering, design, user research, everything up there. The second speaker with me is Kapil Makhija, CEO at Unicommerce. Kapil has over 14 plus years of work experience across e-commerce, management consulting, technology in both B2B and B2C domains. And we have Sriram Krishnamurthy, who is head of e-commerce at Reckitt Benckiser Health. Sriram has over 7 years of experience in multiple domains on sales and marketing, e-commerce, software development, He specializes in customer behavior and sales, right? So I think there's a very interesting panel out there with the right domain expertise. And so we'll just jump into the discussion without too much of ado. So the first question out here is around the state of O+O adoption, online plus offline adoption in the organization and around you. So I'll start off with Jayan, right? Jayan, you are the Chief Product and Technology Officer at Flipkart, one of the biggest e-commerce online players in India with over 160 million users, 100,000 plus sellers. How do you see offline and online integration playing out around you? Go ahead, Jayan.
Thanks, Ajita. As you pointed out, right, I think the penetration of online commerce as a part of the overall commerce pie is still in the low to mid single digit right now in India, right? So this will definitely grow over time. But there are definite advantages to offline commerce, and combining the efficiency that digitization brings and national supply chain brings, along with actually the benefits that consumers get in being able to work with local businesses, is the model that we think will in the near to medium term really work very well in the country. So as you would have recently seen, we at Flipkart in fact acquired Walmart India's cash and carry business, so that we also have an upstream element of integration with the kiranas and the various fashion retailers in the country. So those are the two domains that we are going after first, right, which is the general kirana trade and also fashion retail. And our hope is that we can bring the benefits of technology, digitization, efficiencies in supply chains, and the power of demand aggregation that we can bring to bear when we work with the FMCGs and other consumer brands, to be able to pass on that value back to the retailers and further on to the consumers through this process. So that is one element of how we work with kiranas, and we plan to work with kiranas. The other element of how we actually work with kiranas is actually in a very interesting way as our last mile partners for the traditional B2C commerce. Because there is large variability in our demand patterns. There are seasonal variations, as well as even variations across other dimensions, right? Like in terms of category mix and others, right? So it creates a lot of variability in our demand mix. And to be able to efficiently serve that, we cannot rely only on the traditional models of either our own 1P logistics or 3PL partners. Of course, we do use 3PL partners. We have one of the largest reaches in the country in terms of our own 1PL logistics platform that we have. But we find it very useful to work with kiranas and use their workforce as a flex workforce to be able to handle a lot of the last mile deliveries, right? So this has worked out pretty well for us to scale demand up elastically and on the supply chain. The other element is, of course, the traditional omni-channel model, where is there a way that we can make the inventory of these offline stores available for our online consumers, and using technologies around geofencing, being able to match customers to the closest store that we can bring that demand and fulfill it very, very quickly. For example, a couple of years back, we acquired a company in the omni-channel software as a solution space. We integrated them primarily into the fashion brand retail space, so that the new season merchandise, which first hits many of the offline brand stores first, can be made available online as soon as they hit the offline stores. And of course, it increases inventory efficiencies for these brands and retailers as well, to be able to get demand, not just from footfalls into their stores, but also through the online channel, because merchandising and other elements work in an extremely data-driven way online, right? So bringing that power of discovery, merchandising, personalization, etc., together with the availability and the urgency that you can fulfill using local stores, is something that we are very invested in, and we have done a lot of work through that.
Excellent. Thanks, Jay. That was a great opening statement. I think you're covering 3 or 4 major areas, and more or less, that's what we see around us also in our research. I'd like to move on to Kapil now. I think Kapil, Unicommerce is kind of the technology backbone for many online retail firms, right? You have had both a bird's eye view and a hands-on view of ongoing O+O activities. Can you shed some light on it? Over to you, Kapil.
Thanks, Achyuta. I hope I am audible and you're able to hear me.
Yes, slightly on lower side. If you could just speak up a little bit, it will be great.
Okay, is this better?
Yeah, much better. Thank you.
Okay, so adding on to what Jay said, so we are seeing O+O adoption on two fronts. One is fashion brands, particularly going online or going omni-channel through both their own website and marketplaces, where Myntra has obviously taken the lead, which Jen talked about. But even other marketplaces are also kind of getting the supply chain together where the store's inventory can be made available. And that will hopefully not be restricted to just fashion. We're also seeing a lot of innovation in other categories. For example, brands now wanting to go D2C. And for that, again, it has to be a combination of O+O. Let's say the likes of Marico, they partner with Swiggy and Zomato to go direct to consumer and do hyper-local fulfillment. And they are figuring out how the local distributors can actually fulfill the demand for the consumer. There are also innovations happening of store on wheels. Many fashion brands actually had mini trucks lined up in apartment complexes, and even FMCG companies are lining up mini trucks, which will where the customers can also pre-order, and that can be delivered through that mini truck. Plus, they will have a display, let's say every Sunday, where the customers can come down and purchase it. And we are seeing a lot of adoption in WhatsApp-based commerce now, not just with the likes of JioMart, etc., which obviously is more mainstream. But for brands to go direct to consumer, we are seeing many of the orders being taken in WhatsApp. It used to be Kirana stores or local boutiques who were probably conversing on WhatsApp and taking orders. But now even large brands like ITC or Levi's are actually doing these ordering on WhatsApp now. The customers can actually select, and there are partners with us such as Yellow Messenger, Haptic, which actually enable WhatsApp-based commerce. So we are seeing different elements of that: hyper-local, WhatsApp-based commerce, different categories actually going omni-channel. The underlying theme of all of this is that all of these brands want to go direct to consumer. They're saying that I want to get closer to consumer, fulfill the demand. My long-haul supply chain is probably disrupted, more so it was during the lockdown. Can I actually fulfill that demand through my local distributors and not be dependent on those vagaries? And technology plays a very fundamental role, because now you imagine so many ecosystem players have to be connected together. It's your local Kirana or the distributor, WhatsApp as a front end or Shopify as a front end, for example. Your ERP needs to be plugged into these ever evolving systems like Shopify or WhatsApp. And also not just for inventory, order receiving, returns. So it is becoming very complicated. So a lot of automation, and the brands are actually investing a lot in automation, in streamlining all of this. And we are playing a fairly pivotal role there, because we act like a central system for integrating different pieces. And in fact, those are the trends that we're seeing: a fundamental shift on brands wanting to go direct to consumer, whatever ways, through website, store on wheels, or any other means.
Great. Thank you, Kapil. I'll move on to Sriram. Sriram, I think, you are representing a $13 billion global conglomerate, right? Would you like to share some of your experience from a global perspective on online-offline collaboration, and also from an India perspective? Please go ahead, Sriram.
Yeah, sure. So at RB, our strength lies predominantly in building consumer-centric product innovations and building partnerships with retailers and distribution partners. Now, some of the broad trends that we are seeing globally, as well as India, from the context of offline and online, is the first one is that we are seeing a greater shift to e-commerce channel, even from the physical retailers. So, for example, in markets like US and Europe, we are seeing e-commerce becoming a significantly large part of the business. For physical retailers like Walmart, Tesco, Target, and also large pharmacy chains in Europe. This is both via their click and collect model, as well as delivery to consumers' homes via what we would call traditional e-commerce. In India also, we are seeing some form of this emerging. So we see DMart, JioMart, all of them building their own platforms. And we are seeing other forms of collaboration where retailers like More, for example, works with Amazon as part of their Prime Now program, to ensure their assortment is available for delivery to consumers within 2 to 4 hours. The second trend we're seeing is the rise of on-demand channel facilitators. So these are essentially last mile marketplace platforms. This, in fact, interestingly, is the dominant form of e-commerce for us, for RB as a company in markets like Latin America as well as UAE. So we have Rappi, which partners with more than 2,000 stores in Brazil to ensure products are available to consumers. We have InstaShop, which partners with a large number of retailers as well as logistics companies in UAE to ensure these products are available to consumers. We've seen some, the likes of Swiggy and Zomato, which especially specialize in this last mile delivery, foray into this field in terms of building their partnership, which Kapil also talked about in terms of how companies are looking to partner with distributors to ensure, last mile availability of products. We're seeing some forms of this emerging in India. And the third large trend we are seeing is the rising adoption of small retailers to digital tools. Now, while, as you correctly mentioned, e-commerce, while it is growing fast, still constitutes a very small percentage of retail business in India. It's much smaller, especially from the context of FMCG. Right, in FMCG, despite the emergence of modern trade, e-commerce, bulk of the business happens via the 10 million odd Kirana outlets, which are there in the country. And most FMCG companies directly service less than 1 million of these Kirana outlets, right? So essentially what the Kirana outlets are looking for is some means to solve their problem of access, assortment, credit. So there are three models which we see emerging. Another market which is largely similar to India in this context is Brazil, which has this huge fragmentation as far as retail trade is concerned, right? So one, we are seeing the rise of distributor facilitators. So these could be either retailer ordering apps or partnerships with last mile delivery companies. So for example, at RB, we're working on having a WhatsApp ordering system for retailers, where they can, put in their order into the WhatsApp system. And this connects to the distributor inventory and order management system so that it can be fulfilled to the retailers. This is a much more efficient model than traditionally how FMCG distribution works, where you have a distributor salesman turning up at the retail outlets, once every week or fortnight to book their orders. The second thing we are seeing is the rise of distribution platforms or marketplaces. So these could be in the form of platforms like Udaan, etc., which provide a marketplace platform for wholesalers, distributors to sell their products online and provide reliable access to retailers to a wide range of assortment. The third is the rise of omni-channel or even online-only wholesale. Right now, wholesale again forms a very dominant part of the distribution ecosystem. These could be organized in the form of cash and carry chains like Walmart, or it could be the traditional wholesale mandis in the country. We are seeing both of these transitioning to an online ordering system, right? Again, to enable access to retailers and help in this entire digital journey of Kirana's, place, having access to a wider assortment, and also having access to credit more reliably than they would otherwise get.
Excellent. Thank you, Sriram. I think, one of the key things that keep coming to my mind, I think, you've all touched upon the right points that we wanted to talk about. And I want to go a little bit deeper on each of them on how do you basically quantify, some of these benefits, how do you basically, look at creating this, how do you see this quantifying playing out, right, over a period of time? So, Jayan, Flipkart is always doing a lot of big sales all through the year round. So how does O+O play a role over here? I mean, right now the role may be small, but, going forward, it may be a far a bigger role. But would you want to touch upon that a little bit?
So in terms of how we look at the benefits of this at one more level of depth, right? So if you look at one of the important measures of customer satisfaction for us is the speed of delivery, right? So we look at what is called as a D2 speed metric, which is basically from the time the click happens, meaning the order comes in, to the time when the product shows up in the doorstep, right? So what is the way to actually get the product fastest to the customer, right? So most companies track this metric, which is the D2 speed metric, right? So of course you can invest quite a lot in building your own capex based models and heavy asset models to and increase your working capital and deploy that across all of your forward centers.
Sorry, Jen, I lost you. Can you hear us? Hello? I think we lost Jen. Kapil, can you hear me? Shriram?
I can hear you.
Yes,
I guess
we can hear you.
I guess we lost Jen.
Looks like it.
Yeah, Shivam, please, if you can just check. I'll just keep moving to the next question. So, just following up on that. Hello. Yeah.
Hey, sorry, I think I dropped off. Connection probably had an issue.
Yeah,
I don't know how much
we can hear you
what
now.
I said. What I said, all of you were able to hear.
Yeah, you were just talking about whether you want to build a capex heavy model or you want to go asset light, and that's where I think we lost you.
Yeah. So that is one big benefit, right? So this is about us being able to leverage the availability of inventory across partner stores, and being able to deliver this to the speed expectations of customers, and being able to give them the same large assortment that we are used to giving. While at the same time doing it in a very, very efficient way, right? So that is one of the biggest benefits that we look at in this model. For the retailers who are operating these stores as well, there are a couple of big benefits, right? One is obviously the demand and the top of the funnel that an online platform provides to be able to give discovery to customers, and they could even work with online retailers to do just-in-time offer merchandising and other constructs to be able to drive even more demand, right, if they choose to do so. And we are also looking at how we can give insights on what is because through our online business we get a lot of data on the assortments that are selling well, the regional variations of those at a micro market level, right? So these insights could actually power basically the most efficient, optimal assortment that needs to be placed at a given retailer, and these insights could drive their own efficiencies to be better in terms of their working capital, space utilization, and inventory turns, right? So I think these are some of the ways in which we look at a mutual win-win scenario for both offline retailers as well as online retailers on how together we can serve the customer needs better.
Thank you, Jen. So my second set of questions are more around, we believe that there is progress being made when it comes to O+O. Online and offline players are coming together. But I think that what's happening right now, what's today the state is actually the tip of the iceberg. I mean, there is a lot that can happen and a lot of impact that can be made across the country. So my question to all of you, and maybe we'll go again in that same order of Jen, Kapil, and Sriram, is what will you think will allow online plus offline collaboration to really scale up in India? What are the enablers for scaling up O+O? Jen, you want to go first?
Yeah, I think because our country has relied quite a bit on general trade, which are really small mom and pop businesses, and the benefit, the retail, the large format retailers and modern trade is still it's growing, but it's still a very, very small part of the retail pie, right? So typically the general trade businesses have not been actually digitally enabled, right? So this makes it difficult. I mean, there are not general ERP systems that we can integrate with and deploy across a large set of our partners, training the on-the-ground personnel, and encouraging and driving digital adoption in these businesses so that it becomes easier for those businesses to work with digital native cloud-first kind of companies which are operating at scale is, I would say, one of the biggest challenges facing our industry, right? So everyone is looking at getting at this problem from various ways, right? So some folks have started with the omnipresent point of sale devices and trying to get inroads into the full stack of what it would take to run a digitally enabled offline store from that perspective. Others have come from the perspective of being B2B distributors and enabling inventory efficiencies with on-demand replenishment models and using that as a lever to try and push digitization into their distribution channels. So everyone is coming at this problem from multiple ways, but this is, I think, one of the things that would be a long and hard walk, but would be a very fulfilling thing at the end of it. I think if as an ecosystem we are able to drive digitization, there are various other benefits as well beyond just inventory visibility and all of that, right? So we could even, for example, look at loyalty programs that span across both online and offline, right? So how do we create a loyalty ecosystem where you are able to earn rewards and being able to redeem it across both online and offline channels and so on and so forth, right? So there are lots of other benefits if we're able to drive the digitization agenda in the country along and specifically in this sector.
Thanks, Jen. Over to you, Kapil. How do you see this? What do you think are the enablers for scaling up O+O in India? I mean, technology is clearly one, and I think some of that has been talked upon by Jen also. And please feel free to build upon it from your perspective.
Sure. I just want to start with the fact that the consumer has always been omni-channel, right? So whenever you were shopping, let's say for fashion, even offline, you would inevitably end up looking, or a consumer would end up looking the online websites, the marketplaces, Flipkart, Amazon, on what the price is, whether it's available or not. Maybe I'll purchase it. I think
again, it's those 5% of the population which is looking at both, right? And the traditional ones will still go ahead and
but I think
how they do it.
It's also increasing. So I'm seeing now the brands are also realizing that I have to become omnichannel. See, omnichannel has been a discussion for the last 3 or 4 years, right? And it's been a buzzword so far. There was a lot of intent, but execution wasn't behind it because the brands were not realizing the immediate benefits of it. But now, post the lockdown, when brands have started to realize that my offline stores will not see a lot of footfall, I have to serve the consumer demand. Consumer is shifting, more and more consumers are shifting online. I have to get there. And hence, you will see that at least the things that we saw over the last couple of years, the biggest use case of omnichannel that was getting implemented was endless aisle. That a consumer walking into the store is not, particularly in fashion, they're not able to find a particular good in their size or in their color. It will get delivered from another store so that the consumer demand gets met. I think that use case is now getting shifted to delivery from store, both from their own website, plus now with the marketplaces getting omni-channel, because it is giving benefits to the brands, a win-win, right? Brand gets, like Jayan mentioned, shorter delivery times to consumers, which are little broken in today's turbulent times. Second is they're able to utilize their inventory better, higher inventory turnover, which again Jayan mentioned. And finally, they're able to better utilize their staff, which is there. One of the biggest challenges that we had seen in omnichannel implementation is that the offline store staff never believed in the online world. For him, the real customer is the one walking into the store. But now, because there are no customers walking in, he's now more open to trying out a new system. For him, it's a change, right? As you mentioned, e-commerce is still 5 to 7%. So for him, it's only 5 to 7% of the orders that are going to come to him if the delivery from store concept picks up. But now, particularly post-lockdown, that number for certain brands has gone up to even high as 20%. And hence, they are also taking it seriously. So I think while the top management always had the intent, the biggest issue in rolling this out was on the ground, lack of training and lack of intent in actually adopting it, because they really did not see any benefit of doing that. Many of times we have seen that the order came, they still did not block the inventory for the online order, saying that I'll leave it for the quote unquote real customer, which is going to come through my store. And all those challenges are getting ironed out. So I think beyond technology, it's the operational support will be very critical for brands to be able to scale this up really well. today it's a need because less and less consumers are walking offline. I think in the next 12 months, slowly the offline will start to open up even more. What will be interesting to see is whether this trend or this inclination of the offline or on-ground staff still continues. That is something that will have to be solved through technology or through better SOPs, incentive plans, so that this change of behavior for the offline store staff continues to stick.
Thank you, Kapil. Moving on to Sriram. Sriram, I think some markets globally are probably ahead of us in this online-offline collaboration mode. So, what has actually helped them succeed? What has actually helped them scale up in those countries? Could you throw some light on it?
Yeah, so our understanding is that consumers seek either predominantly four values: assortment, convenience, value, trust, right?
Yeah.
And great business models can be built by focusing on either one or more of these values. In most markets where on-demand facilitators have risen rapidly, they've been able to bring both a wide amount of assortment as well as convenience with 30 to 45-minute delivery reliably. As Jayan very rightly mentioned, the degree of fragmentation in India is much higher, right? We have large number of very, very small retailers with low degree of digitization, which makes doing this reliably a very, very hard problem to solve, right? I think one of the things which would really help, and while this retail fragmentation is there, most of these small retailers, while they might be small, they have a phenomenal degree of business acumen. If they see that adopting any of these would allow them to either realize a higher turnover or reduce either their inventory holding costs or reduce their procurement prices, they would easily adopt it. I think real challenge is in how do you convince the retailer in terms of what is the value, business value, in terms of really adopting these. I mean, that is typically, if you see how most distributor and FMCG companies also engage with these retailers, we have many retailer programs where we work with them, talk to them about the value that this program brings to them as retailers for them to stock our products, right? And I think that is going to be the key to crack in terms of how we convince the retailers of the value of digitization through one of these three benefits that I talked about: higher sales, lower procurement cost, lower inventory levels.
Okay, great, Sriram. There are a couple of interesting questions from the audience which are related to the discussion we are having right now, and I'll probably move to my last question maybe towards the end, and I'll take some of the audience questions over here. One clear question that is coming out is security, right? I mean, with cloud, omni-channel, with WhatsApp now becoming a medium, as all of you mentioned, for transactions on the online retail platforms. How do us as providers, how do you as providers actually ensure customer data privacy, customer security? And I think maybe Jayan, you want to start on, and maybe Sriram and Kapil can build on it.
Sure. I think this is not specific to omnichannel per se. I think as a company that holds 200 plus million customers data under our custody and in our trust, right? We are holding it in trust, right? This data belongs to the customers, right? So we have always looked at data security as something really crucial, and this directly talks to the trust the customers have on our brand, right? So we follow, for example, the NASSCOM, which is a standards body in the US, that there is a cybersecurity framework to assess the level of security of your systems. We constantly run vulnerability assessments, penetration tests. We work with partners to secure our perimeters and all of that stuff, right? So we address what are called as zero-day vulnerabilities as quickly as possible and patch them. So we are always on the lookout for possible issues which can breach customer trust, and we work with the right partners to get the right frameworks, security posture in place. The cybersecurity framework, for example, looks at 5 different verticals, right, within the larger infosec cybersecurity area, right? So if you look at it, it talks about identifying threats and being able to protect against them. This is the proactive element of the cybersecurity framework. Then you also have 3 other pillars, which is around detect, respond, and recover, right? So most organizations do not think that, like, in spite of whatever proactive protections they have put in place, that they'll never get breached. There'll be not even a single, let's say, employee that clicks on a phishing email and therefore creates an avenue for, let's say, an attacker to try and penetrate your network and try to look at customer data. There is a lot of technology now today available, and we look at deploying some of the best in class to secure the network. But at the same time, we always are thinking that there is always a possibility that there is an attacker that has penetrated the network, in which case how do we detect them in the network through what are called as indicators of compromise, and being able to repel them, and even if some attacker lands on your network, how do you make sure that through various deception technologies, there are things called honeypot technologies and others, you figure out how to actually catch them in the act, and make sure that they don't reach the most secure customer data that you have, right? So these are protected behind multiple layers of security, right? And we run 24/7 security operation centers and all of that stuff, right? So I think, yes, I mean, in an online plus offline world, we have an integrated view of the customer, the entire ecosystem, right? So that makes the sensitivity of the data even more, because we have a 360-degree view of the customer now, right? Not just online purchases, but even offline. Which stores are they walking into? Where are they purchasing? And what are they purchasing? And all of that stuff, right? So it just makes the problem even more important, and for companies like us, which are custodians of large amounts of data, hundreds of millions of customers, this is something that we are constantly on the lookout for, and keep working with the right partners to address in the correct way.
Great, thanks, Jen. Kapil, same question, from a security perspective, also given the fact that, you need to, extend the layer from the online player to the offline player also, because they're also integrated in your system. So how do you as a service, as a technology provider, address that?
Sure. Yes, I think security is increasingly becoming very important to even the brands that we are working with in India, and we are also catering to 20% of India's e-commerce transactions. So from a scale perspective, we are also very cognizant of the fact that this is of paramount importance to us. So besides the factors that Jen mentioned, that we invest a lot in security certifications, we are getting SOC certified and few other things that we are doing from our end to ensure security. The important point, as you mentioned, we have to, because we as a system work like a middleware, we integrate with multiple systems in place. So I think we have very clear contracts defined to ensure that there is no data breach that happens. So I think that's very critical. And as we onboard a brand, those contracts have to be clearly defined. And we've kind of now defined very standard security contracts, SLAs, etc., for different interfaces in the ecosystem, whether it's an ERP, point of sale, a front end, or a marketplace. I think those contracts have to be made in place and transparently communicated to the brand coming on board. So majority of the initiatives are probably in line with what Jayan mentioned, nothing much to add there, but I'm saying what as a service provider, we have to obviously ensure that all different ecosystem players, there are clear contracts that are in place and transparently communicated to the brand once you are onboarding them. So that's one thing that we are doing fairly aggressively to make sure that brands have comfort on the security front.
Great. And a follow-up question is around one of the questions that I'm seeing from the group is around usage of AI for customer experience. So how do you basically personalize your offers to the customers? And again, this one is for both, Flipkart, Jayan, you, and also Kapil, right? Would you like to, go ahead and share your thoughts on that? And this is for both your offline and online customers, right? I mean, we are looking at both segments here.
Sure. I think, when you have a selection that is as wide as what a marketplace like ours offers, right? So there is a long tail of selection. We have more than 100 million unique products on our platform, right? And this means that you need to aid discovery on the platform for the customer, right? So you can't rely on customers being able to navigate through that large catalog. And we use the latest in terms of AI data science driven personalization models. We do recommendations to customers based on their not just their purchase history, but also what they've clicked, what they've added to cart, what they add to wish list, and their past brand preferences, price affinity. I mean, there are literally like several million features that go into our machine learning models to try to model a customer preference in this multidimensional vector space, right? So that's how most of these recommendation systems and personalization models work. So we believe we have one of the best personalization engines in the industry. We have tried benchmarking it, and we of course continue to invest in improving it. And this is not just on any one of the properties, not just on your main homepage merchandising, but even when, let's say, somebody comes and searches on your platform, it could be a generic query, for example, and to be able to drive the right discovery for a customer, even the search ranking, for example, has to not just take relevance to the search query, but also the user preferences based on our mapping of the user into the model space, right? So we do all of that stuff, and across every touch point to the customer, we personalize the interaction, including, for example, CX contacts. So when a customer calls into us or uses the chat interface to talk to us, we know even before the customer talks about what they're reaching out to us for, with a very high confidence, we know what is the likely thing that the customer is reaching out to us for, right? So, and we use that as a way to give them the answer that they're looking for very, very quickly without them having to go through a very complicated process, right? So we have interactive IVRs and all of these things that actually use automated speech recognition and voice technology to be able to personalize that interaction to a customer, right? So we are able to understand the anxiety level of the customer, directly push them into L2 support agent instead of L1, right? Based on the severity of the issue and all of that stuff, right? So I think every aspect of our platform and consumer experience on the platform is crucially dependent on this level of user insights that we have about every single one of our customers.
Sure. Any thoughts on this?
So we don't work a lot on the front end, but our AI engines are largely on the back end,
right,
like allocating to the right store. And there could be multiple nuances to this, right? Not just the location of the store, but whether the store is operational on that day, what are the working hours. Many stores are often Tuesdays, Fridays. What is the capacity of a store? The brand wants to allocate stores, like does not want to make sure that all orders get allocated to a single store. So they put a cap so that it can be distributed, and what prioritization of stores, same city, same zone, etc. So there are multiple such nuances that we provide in terms of allocating to the store. Let's say in the warehouse management, pick path optimization, put away optimization, we keep the same layout. So all of those are the AI elements to ensure the customer experience after the order has come in. Right. Can we offer a superior customer experience? So these kind of AI elements are something that we provide in the solutions that we provide.
Sure. Thank you. One more question for Sriram. Sriram, and this is something that's very interesting, which came out from one of the attendees over here. And what they're saying is that, have you ever really thought about a business where you're basically powering, you're using your own platform to renegotiate prices at a scale, and then providing that to your B2B component so that the downstream impact of pricing can be reduced because of platforms such as you coming in and buying in bulk. So this has got nothing to do with your online platform, but it's mostly about helping your traditional retailer actually get a better deal. Is this something that you have kind of thought about?
No, interestingly, this one of the things which we are looking to build. There are many large FMCG companies in other markets which have built out this ordering system or their own eB2B platforms, like Unilever has done it in Brazil. And we are also looking to build it in markets where fragmentation is high, especially markets like India, Indonesia, that allow us to serve retail trade directly. But then again, the logistics problem around it is quite challenging.
Right.
But that is something which we are actively thinking about.
Great. Thank you. I'll just move on. In the interest of time, I'll just move on to my last question, which is more around. It's 5 years down the line, and please treat this as a closing thought, closing summary from each of your sides. Where do you see India retail 5 years from now? And I'll again start with Jen. Jen, go ahead. Crystal ball gazing. Where do you see retail going in India? 2025.
Yeah, I think, we are very optimistic about the growth of retail. The CAGRs that we have seen across every format, right? Online obviously is growing at a blistering pace. If you look at especially COVID and its impact on retail, in many countries, even countries that had already achieved strong double-digit penetration of online commerce, they actually jumped between 18 months to 24 months in terms of the trajectory, right? So if you had projected and extrapolated from the trajectory that existed pre-COVID to now, right, they actually jumped about 18 months in terms of the adoption curve.
Right? So I think, Jan, you're actually being conservative. I saw an analysis from Amazon where the last 5 years, what they grew, they actually achieved that in the last 6 months. So 2014 to 2019, 5 years of growth actually got achieved in the last 6 to 8 months. And that's actually humongous, so as to speak. But go ahead.
I think, different markets have had, substantial levels of shift, right? So I think, 18 months is kind of a conservative estimate, right? So from what we are seeing now, this is definitely going to really accelerate adoption of digital technologies in the consumer space. Right. Everyone has now adopted, like demonetization was such a moment when, for example, it drove digital payments adoption, right? So now, because of contactless payments, a lot of customers are actually moving away from handling cash and doing digital payments, for example, right? So a lot of the barriers, blockers that were there in driving the acceleration of digital commerce are actually getting more and more easier because of the natural adoption cycles plus the acceleration that we have seen in the recent past. The overall retail industry, of course, it's India retail story is a well-known story, right? I think the market will get more and more organized, but at the same time, the soul of the entire retail ecosystem, especially in the FMCG space, is going to continue to be driven by the Kirana ecosystem, and that will also continue to thrive. But the marriage of offline and online and adoption of digital technologies bodes really well for what this country can achieve, right? And I think in the earlier session we saw Kunal talk about this, right? So 50% wastage of fresh produce is just humongous, right? For the mass of humanity that our country currently sustains and supports, it is just criminal waste of resources, right? So this, being able to do farm to fresh, being able to bring online and offline together, putting the infrastructure and supply chain to be able to reduce this wastage and pass on these benefits to end customers, etc., bodes really, really well. I think I'm very, very optimistic about where the retail industry would be. From a projection perspective, there are various numbers, right? So it's about maybe 200 billion, 300 billion. We have had a lot of different numbers. And I think online commerce adoption probably is going to easily get to 20% plus in that sort of a time frame, I think.
Great. Thanks, Jen. Kapil, 30 seconds. What do you think 5 years down the line, where does retail go in India?
So fully agree with the points that Jen mentioned. In addition to that, I think we'll see a lot of democratization of supply. We will see a lot of new age D2C brands kind of taking away share from traditional brands. SMEs becoming more and more digital. So the larger theme is democratization of supply through more brands, more SMEs coming in, and digital adoption even in retail. So while e-commerce will also grow, I'm also seeing a lot of technology adoption in retail for walk-in customers, augmented reality, and all of that. I think used to look like a far-fetched thing 2 years back, but I think that will start happening now once, at least in offline things, will start going back to normal.
Great. Sriram, closing thoughts?
Yeah, it's very hard to hazard a guess now, just given how fast the world is changing. Interestingly, about 10 months back in the FMCG retail space, right, DMart was the poster boy, and many e-commerce retailers would have articulated their ambition and vision as wanting to be the DMart of e-commerce, right? Interestingly, now DMart would want to be the DMart of e-commerce, and those are the times we live in. So it's very hard to hazard a guess, but at the same time, I think there is going to be no one monolithic form of e-commerce which is going to be there in this country. There are two large trends: digitization and more formalization in the economy. and we are going to see this trends emerge across different parts of the value chain. So there's going to be social commerce, live streaming, which is very large in some of the Southeast Asian markets, becoming bigger in India. For the next wave of e-commerce shoppers, as Kunal talked about, e-grocery, pharmacy. So there are going to be multiple models of e-commerce, omni-channel, where some very hard problems need to be solved for it to gain scale. And of course, the traditional marketplaces with their wide assortment and pricing and enabling large number of SMBs, which are going to continue to accelerate over the course of the next 4 to 5 years. But as I said, I don't see one monolithic form of commerce dominating the e-commerce ecosystem.
Thanks, Sridham. So 2 or 3 key takeaways just to summarize from my side. I mean, basically whatever you guys said, one, growth will continue to accelerate going forward. We don't see slowing down of growth. We'll probably see faster growth of e-commerce, adoption of e-commerce. Second is digitalization will be more pervasive at every stakeholder level, not only at the provider level, but also at the SME level, also at the end user level, also at the customer level, right? Third is there would be more and more formalization of the buyers and the suppliers. I think that's something that maybe the organized retail can actually lead more of that. Fourth point would be omni-channel will actually lead to a more digitally activated ecosystem for me. I think that's something that will come in. And a collaborative cross-channel customer experience across all channels will be very instrumental. And ability of technology and providers to actually provide that will actually be the key driver for growth of the retail sector, the accelerated growth of the retail sector that we are talking about. So thank you all, Jayan, Sriram, Kapil, for a very insightful discussion. Thank you 10,000 Startups team for the opportunity to host the session. To our audience, thank you for the excellent questions. I would request you to stay tuned for NASSCOM's detailed upcoming report on Retail 4.0. It will take a month more for that, but we will keep you tuned. For those looking to participate in that and share your stories, feel free to reach out to me. So thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Achita, Kapil, Sriram, and Jan. That was an excellent conversation. There are tons of questions, and like every virtual session, it's very difficult to take all these questions. But I'd love to share these with you offline, so that you can just get an idea of the kind of questions that have been asked by the audience, and maybe we can find an appropriate platform to address some of this in different ways. Thank you again so much for your time, and truly, truly appreciate it. And thank you, Achita. That was a phenomenal session. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kritika.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. So with that, now we to go into the much awaited, the demos of the startups that we have pre-selected for you. And please feel free to ask questions. And once the video plays, we'll bring the co-founder on the screen for you to ask your questions, post which we will have a poll as well. So stay tuned, and we will start with Custom Fit AI. Ashwin, you're there, right? Yeah, hi. So can we have the video for Custom Fit AI play, please?
Custom Fit is all about how can you convert your website traffic to quality leads? How can you transform your website into number one growth engine? It's by precisely personalizing your website for each and every visitor as if, that website is custom made to him, right? You know what? Companies spend a lot of money in driving their traffic to their website, like through the various means like social media ads, push notifications, SEO corrections, a bunch of the things, right? Now, once the visitor lands on your website, basically the tool's job is done. They have done an excellent job of bringing you visitors on board. Now, how are you going to convert those visitors to quality leads? That's where we come into the picture, and we make your website highly intelligent, because with the custom fit enabled, your website knows a lot of things about the visitor, in sense who the visitor is, who referred him, what is his interest, whether he's a first time or repeated, what is he looking for, whether it's a corporate visitor or normal visitor, hundreds of the things. And the pitch can change based on who the visitor is and what the visitor has done, right? Very first thing, custom fit will help you in understanding what's happening on your website. If I ask you a question, like how well you know about your visitors, right? It's not about, hey, I have the Google Analytics enabled or I have the mixed panel. It's not the thing. Do you really know how exactly your visitors are behaving on your website, what the turns they're taking, what the twists they're undergoing, where are they seeing friction, where are they bouncing off, how are they walking towards your goal points from hundreds of different angles, right? Custom fit enables you to understand and analyze what's exactly happening on your website. This will get you very precise information with which you can go and have the right set of the data to understand and to personalize precisely by understanding whom to personalize, when to personalize, and what to personalize, right? Now the game is all about, once you have this information at hand, now custom fit enables you to go and create different dynamic content for different segment of the audience based on who the visitor is and on what they have done. Right? For example, one of our client, Wafi Apps from Bahrain, he enabled his website, with the powered by custom fit, wherein his website changes dynamically for different segment of the audience. Right? For example, the whole pitch can change based on what's happening over there, okay, based on different events happening around, or it can be based on what ad the visitor has seen and landed onto your website. It can be based on the gender thing. Your website content dynamically changes. It can even be based on the regions wise, right? Like it can based on interest thing, the whole content on the website dynamically changing as if it's been custom made to them, right? It can be based on the preferences thing, right? So the crux here is, it's all about, the custom is built for the business team in mind. It means without changing a single line of the code, so you can go and create the experiences and roll it out in the matter of minutes, right? So it's a zero code platform where you can go and integrate in the matter of minutes. So as I said, okay, there are hundreds of the different traits using which you can go and do a precise personalization, right? Whatever may be the campaigns or whatever may be the kind of the visitors you are landing on. Come and talk to us at customfit.ai. If you want to reach out to me directly, you can reach out to me at ashwin@customfit.ai. Thank you.
Hi.
Yeah. Hi, Ashwin. Quick question for you. Can
Please.
you share a case study with a retail or e-commerce client?
Yes, we have one e-commerce client, Office Apps, and also we also worked previously with the Mamaearth. Like it's been a bit paused, but yeah, that was the experience with the e-commerce clients.
If you were to highlight 3 things about what you do, right? Could you?
3 things about what? Sorry, that
about your product?
Yeah, so the custom fit is all about, how can you convert your website into number 1 salesperson, right? So the moment a visitor lands on your website, think in a way that, your marketing guy or your sales guy sitting right behind that laptop screen and he knows exactly what to sell. Right. So having said that, it's all about, very first thing starts with understanding of your visitors and giving them the custom fit experience.
Right. I have another question that's come to me. Since
Please.
the solution customizes the content based on users' past behavior, how do you push new segment or new products?
Correct. So like the 2 things, okay. What actually we highlighted over there is custom fit, not just personalized based on who you are, and also based on your how the visitor walked on your website, what things he has seen, where he has halted, and all those things, right? So like it's a kind of the data enrichment that happens with every move of the customer, okay, when he onto the website, or depending upon who brought him onto the website. Whether it's the first time or repeated and all, right? Every moment, okay, the data enriches, and that's what actually you are able to create different sort of the segments based on the behavioral pattern.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks. And with that, we will go into the poll now. How do you cater to a totally new customer?
Yeah, so there are a bunch of the things, like some of the attributes of the visitor will be brought in, like depending upon from the where the source he is coming from, right? The other things like, okay, what region, what location, and all those behaviors is completely new thing. Okay, I just landed onto your website without any of the previous history or any of the records, but that's what actually is just based on the behavior what I'm trying to showcase on the website. The whole pitch can change there.
Okay, I have another last question for you. Is this only for websites, or can we also extend to other client interactions? How do you also integrate info on search engines that may not lead to your website?
Yeah. So currently this webs like it's a very specific for the websites. It can be even for your dashboards and other things, but it's meant for the web technology. Not for the like we have yet to go for the mobile and other thing, but that's not our primary target at this stage.
Okay. Thanks, Ashwin.
Thank you.
Can I now have the video for freestand? Konark is here. Yeah. Hi, Konark. Team, can we have the video playing for freestand?
Hi, I'm Sneh Soni.
And I'm Konark Sharma.
And we're the founders of Freestand. And at Freestand, we enable FMCG brands to deliver their physical product samples to digitally targeted consumers.
Product sampling has been around in the FMCG marketing space for decades now. Brands every year distribute lakhs and crores of product samples to consumers in the hopes that the consumers will get to try their products, develop an opinion about it, and maybe become a consumer of the brand's product. The way the brands have been doing product sampling up until now has been in a completely manual manner. Brands will hire a promoter who will physically, manually hand out these product samples to individuals within a physical retail space.
And because it's completely manual, there is no targeting, no consumer data, and it's very hard to scale.
Digital product sampling enables a brand to target consumers digitally in a very specific manner, allows these consumers to claim a sample, and that sample claiming can be across the country. So it's very scalable. And this entire operation, since it's digital, it's completely data driven. We get to know from start who got the sample, what did they feel about it. Everything about the consumer feedback is captured and provided to the brand even in a way that drives actionable insights. To give you an example further into what do we do, we'll talk about one of the brand campaigns, brands we work with. It's Evocus Black Alkaline Water. It's a brand launched by the AV Organics company, which is a company based out of Gujarat. This year, we helped them launch in the Gurgaon and the Delhi NCR market. And in these markets, the brand wanted to reach out to high-value consumers who are interested in health and fitness. The brand, so we helped them, we integrated our technology into the brand's social media channels, which is Facebook and Instagram, enabled the brand to target the right relevant audiences, got the audience interested into the brand, delivered about 4,000 product samples free of cost to consumers' houses, got these consumers to share their feedback about the brand, and enabled the excited consumers to visit the brand's Amazon page and the brand's website. A lot of data was captured, which was put into actionable insights, which are still being used by brands in a way to augment their marketing efforts till now. What product sampling digitally allows a brand to do is it allows the brand to make their consumers feel special. Rather than just showing them a digital ad or rather than randomly handing out sample, it creates a more meaningful interaction between the brand and the consumer. And we want all the brands in India to leverage this technology to have this impact.
Thank you.
Hi, Konark, you can hear me, right?
Hi, Kritika. Yes, I can totally hear you.
Yes. There's a question posted here for you. Is this instantaneously done or happens for next time when a customer revisits my website?
So it depends on how you set up the journey. Let's suppose you have a person who's interested in claiming a product sample from your brand. They visit your website, but they kind of have some skepticism around it. So what you typically do is you retarget them with like a retargeting ad. Educate them a little bit more. In this case scenario, what you do is you'd rather send them an option to claim a sample and resolve their skepticism, by just putting the products in their hands, making them, trust your brand a little bit more and, nudge them closer to making that purchase decision the next time around with your brand.
Yeah, okay. So somebody wants to know, apart from fitness, which all other segments have you done or you can think the solution can be used?
That's a very good question. In the past, we have worked with an organic sanitary napkin brand. That's a particularly very complicated product to sample in the physical spaces. We have worked with energy drinks brand. We did an campaign for MTV Up India. We launched their drinks. We launched a brand Kiddle Me. That's a snack for kids, a healthy snack for kids in the Bombay market. We partnered with them, and we did partnership with like an organic seed-based brand called as Heroes. We sampled their products and launched them in the market as well. So yeah, we've worked with a diverse range of brands, even outside of fitness. There are brands that have been able to utilize our offering.
Great. 30 seconds. What do you want to talk about your product?
I think the digital marketing space has up until now not been able to cater truly for FMCG marketing. FMCG marketing is a little different, like how Jayendra Venugopal just now from Flipkart talked about it. That not all of FMCG retail happens online. It's not possible. You won't buy a packet of chips online, right? And some of those transactions are going to happen, or some awareness is going to happen online. Maybe you want to offer the person a coupon, and they could take them to a retail store and ask them for a product sample that way, right? So that is something that can be done. And so the digital infrastructure for running a product sampling ad doesn't exist at all on the internet. Like you can run an awareness ad, an engagement ad, a conversion ad. Where is the trial ad? And I guess that's because FMCG has just contributed to 1 to 2% of the entire e-commerce sales segment. But I think product sampling and physical coupons, these are going to form the bedrock of digital adoption for FMCG sales, by the interaction of these two channels. And Kirana stores, last mile fulfillment are going to play a key role. And product sampling is going to be the key driver for FMCG in a big way. We believe that at Freestand. Yeah.
There's another question here for you. How do you gather feedback, and what happens with this data?
Right.
How is it shared?
Right. So, our technology is a B2B, directly integrates into the brand's channel, right? And right now we integrate into the brand's Facebook Messenger channel or the WhatsApp Messenger channel. So the customer shares the feedback like it is talking to a friend. So the feedback is collected on these channels. The data is directly provided to the brand. Those insights can be utilized by the brand to, let's say, test out, okay, this pin code is now feasible for me. Let me expand distribution in this region. Or let's say to do a flavor analysis, this region is more leaning towards this flavor. So maybe I can manage my inventory distribution for this area, based on this insight. So the data is completely dependent on how the brand would like to use it and to create loyalty and, to create efficiency in the system.
Okay. Yeah, great. Thanks. Guys, can we have the poll, please? Yeah. Now we will have Invent Labs, Gopi Krishna. Team, can we have the video play, please?
Shops app is an online shopping application that provides all the tools required for shops to do e-commerce business easily. We have launched the platform in association with Kerala Police Cyberdome to help customers get essentials from shops near them. We found that it's hard for individuals to start an e-commerce business as each shop owner has to build their own website or mobile application. It's hard for customers to find nearby shops online. People have to install multiple applications to buy from different shops near them. Many small shops with online delivery does not have an app or website and are accepting orders through phone calls. And the solution we came up is to build a single application that enables customers to buy from shops near them. It acts as a common platform for businesses to sell their products online. It has all the tools required for shops to digitize their business. Shops app acts as a link between customers, businesses, and delivery agents. In the customer's application, shops are listed based on distance. Only shops that deliver to their location will be shown to customers. Customer can select any shop and place orders from them. Customers will be able to see the delivery details and bill details. Customer can make payment online or offline. We have built a web application and mobile application for shop owners. Shop owners can register their own business themselves. We have built an inventory management system inside the application, which can be used by shop owners to manage their inventory. Shop owners can see the order details and details about the customer so that they can pack and deliver the orders themselves. We have also built a mobile application for shop owners. The mobile application has all the features required to manage inventory and manage orders. We have also built a mobile application for delivery agents. Using the mobile application, delivery agents will be able to see the location of customers who have placed orders. The application also helps delivery agents share their location with customers. Using the application, customers will be able to buy from multiple shops very easily. Shops in the platform can make customers book time slot for visiting their shop. It acts as an end-to-end platform with facilities required for shops to start their e-commerce business or to digitize their existing business. We provide on-premise hosting as well. Subsidiary Central Police canteens in Kerala are using the platform to collect orders from police officers for home delivery. For more details, visit shopsapp.org. Thank you.
Yeah, hi Gopi, you can hear me, right?
Yeah.
The question that's come to me for you is, you're bringing the offline and online together. What's your target for this year in terms of scaling your operations?
Yeah, we basically helps all kinds of shops who wants to digitize their business. So we primarily focus on grocery, small and medium shops. So those kind of shops utilizing such a kind of platform, especially at this time, will be extremely useful for customers. Yeah.
Okay. Do you also provide customer insights to the retailers?
Right now, we haven't started doing that, but we have plans to do that.
Okay. Do you think it will be difficult to scale this model when things get back to normal, as customers can go to nearby shops normally?
To a certain extent, that's true, but we have been able to support Kerala police canteens. So we have been able to support other government shops as well to digitize their business and start selling to customers online. So also we are acting as a platform for small shops or say, for example, organic farms run by individuals to get visibility and sell their products to customers online. So we will have a market share after when the situation gets better as well.
Okay. Gopi, anything that you would like to highlight in?
Yeah. So basically, our platform helps small and medium scale shops. Also, big shops can also utilize the platform to sell their products. And also government entities can also use the platform to sell their products to customers online. Also, I think it will be useful if shops or customers from different areas in the world will be able to use this platform. Yeah.
Okay, I have another question here.
Yeah.
Who manages the inventory updation on the app? Is it the retailer?
Yeah. Inventory can be managed by the retailer themselves. Okay. We have an inbuilt inventory management software that can be used for offline sales as well. But we have proper inventory management software, inventory management tools, as well as regular tools. Say, for example, a shop owner can say that they have a product without saying that they have like X number of this product, and this product will be there. And as long as the customer makes the product out of stock. Yeah.
Sure, excellent. Thanks, Gopi Krishna. Team, can we have the poll, please? Okay, thank you, Gopi. Can we now have the video for Stylelumnia, Ganesh?
Hi, everyone. This is Ganesh Subramanian, founder and CEO of Stylelumnia. We are a deep tech startup solving one of the fundamental challenges in home, fashion, and lifestyle businesses globally. We are a complementary team, a bunch of data scientists and fashion retail professionals, a good blend of art and science. The problem that we are solving is reducing the gap between supply and demand. As you can see, is the amount of wastage in the industry globally, and existing solutions are not solving it. Hence, we are taking a very unique approach of holistically solving the what, how much, where, and idea generation problems in the industry as an intelligence layer. That's the suite of solutions we have developed over the last 4 years of existence. We have demonstrated impact across P&L variables, inventory, revenue, and profit, saving over 60 million garments of wastage thus far. How are we doing it? Proprietary demand sensing algorithm like Google page ranking algorithm, first ever in the world. Our customers can see in few clicks winning product ideas globally to their inspiration and competition, getting all the attribute insights, category insights, including all sources up to including the fashion shows globally. This is crystal ball for the fashion industry. You can predict demand of a new product in few clicks by just giving the image by a very proprietary ensemble machine learning model. Proven accuracy of 10 to 40% over the current baseline. This is yet to be in the market. It is mission generated designs where these designs improve the winning probability by 2x using our GAN engine. These are some of the clients cutting across spaces, cutting across categories and geographies. We have very compelling partnerships globally. These are some of the recognitions. Notable ones are Amazon AI Award, NASSCOM, and United Nations, to name a few. This is what very important to us, what our customers are getting benefited, published case studies, and what our customers are talking about as improving our sell-throughs by 2x and reducing inventory by half. Various other customers and different responses and deliverables across forecast accuracy, improvement in full price sell-through, and revenue lift. Why Stylumia? We are one of its kind demand sensing engine, predicting demand prediction capabilities, everything customized for the context of a brand. Thank you very much for the opportunities. The world needs faster, stronger Stylumia. If you're interested in what we do, please reach us at stylumia.ai, and you can always reach out to me.
Hi, Ganesh, you can hear me, right?
I can hear you, Kritika.
Yeah. Well, let's start with 3-4 things that you want to quickly highlight about your product and solution.
Yeah. See, what we do is we fundamentally help fashion brands and lifestyle retailers, not in India, globally, by providing them intelligence from a consumer point of view in terms of what kind of products they should choose. We help them on the what, we help them on the how much, and we help them on where and when. Just to take informed decisions. And fashion industry, 2 out of 3 products globally made does not sell properly, and sitting both impacting both economic and also sustainability impact globally.
Sure.
Right. So we eliminate waste fundamentally.
Okay. You want to talk about? Could you talk about a case study with an existing customer? You don't have to name the customer, but can you talk about it?
In fact, there's a published case study with bestseller group, Veramoda, Jack and Jones, and Only, you must have all seen, where they've been our customer for over 3 years now. And what they have seen is they have got revenue lift over 30%. They have absolutely increased their full price sell-through by 20 to 25%. What that means is profitability jumped by 30-40%, and got more than 10x ROI in under 12 months.
There's another question for you. Do you see this working in beauty or fitness industry as well?
Absolutely. I think we are category agnostic, and we are powering Cult Gear, which is a fitness related brand, and beauty very, very close to fashion. Not only fashion, we moved from fashion, jewelry. We are powering home improvement for all the neighboring areas, and beauty is perfectly aligned to what we do.
Thank you, Ganesh. With that, we'll go into the poll, please. Thank you, Ganesh. And now, can I ask the team to play the video for Team Karo? And we will have Rahul with us to answer a few questions.
Greetings from Team Karo. We are building a digital word-of-mouth platform which ensures great sales along with great brand penetration for e-commerce sellers and brands in India. E-commerce in India works primarily on deep discounting and has shown no signs of break-even for the top players even after 10 years of existence. Aspirational brands get lost in this crowd and have to shell out a lot more to get good visibility and further their sales on these top platforms. At the same time, there is no effort from these marketplaces to curate followers for a brand and generate referral sales, replicating the best way to sell, that is the word of mouth sale. After speaking to over 100 sellers, we felt that there is a huge void in this market which addresses the concerns for sellers. We at Team Kuro believe that these problems that seller encounters can be solved by digitalizing the existing shopping behavior of us Indians. Indians love shopping for discounts. Indians love social validations as well. At the same time, group shopping is a behavior which has been prevalent in India for ages, especially in offline retail. Team Kuro provides discount-hungry Indian customers a way to group shop and earn great discounts. And in that process, it provides a network effect-driven word-of-mouth platform which gives our sellers great sales and great brand visibility. At scale, we will be able to operate at drastically low customer acquisition costs. A customer can start a team buy for any seller or any brand listed on Team Kuro, recommend this brand to his network of friends. As more and more friends join, they all go back with the products that they buy along with some handsome discounts. We work with over 25 sellers right now, and majority of our sellers have exhibited their willingness to pass on their margins in return for more and more orders and more organic customer acquisition. We have a model called circles. Now, what is a circle? Circle is a group of people who are bound by a common interest or a geography. It can be your apartment complex, family, colleagues, or even your child's play school. A customer can order within his circle, aggregate orders to the same location and save big on logistics costs. At the same time, get a lot of orders for the seller in return for rock bottom prices. All in all, Team Kuro believes that the concept of team shopping or referral shopping can be used to reimagine e-commerce as referral commerce and solve most of the problems which are encountered by the sellers and the platforms in terms of acquiring customers for very less. We have been able to demonstrate our wild customer acquisition strategies and features that we have built in, and only in the month of September we were able to acquire over 3,000 customers with almost no marketing spend. Also, we have been able to steadily validate the concept in terms of transactions. All transactions are 100% prepaid and exhibit month-on-month growth as well. With a team size of only 3, 2 co-founders and 1 full-time developer, we have been able to build from scratch a very robust e-commerce platform. We currently have over 25 brands selling on our platform, and we are acquiring customers on a day-to-day basis as well. We believe that we can do much better if you receive the right support at the right time. We hope you find our model interesting. Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks for that. You can hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay, the question for you is, do you plan to reach out with RWA's housing societies to scale up?
Yes. So we are looking at a journey in 2 steps. One is digitizing the online behavior of customers. The second is actually going out to the point of sale itself. For example, briefly mentioned in the presentation, we have a model that we have started to work on called circles. Circle is someone with a core interest. It can be an interest which is based out of your geography, or it can be a group of parents who put their kid to the same school, etc. And the RWS fit perfectly into that particular positioning of ours. And we've already piloted a couple of models in which we have been able to sell a lot of products from these cloud sellers to RWS as well. Yes.
Okay. Which are the segments in which you're seeing the most traction?
Yeah. So we're still very early in our growth stage. So we are still dabbling with our segments. So we have seen a lot of traction in stationery, in books. Then we have this segment called health foods and your essentials. So these are the 4 segments which currently give us the most traction.
Okay, great. Okay, three things that you want to highlight.
Yeah. So we all know the growth story of e-commerce in India, and in the next 5 years, we are all pretty sure that another 1 billion customers are going to get added to the whole pool, right? So as this gets done, the existing customers will be looking for newer ways of newer approaches and newer ways of doing things, more gamified ways, probably video commerce, or all different ways of doing it, right? We are trying to get into this particular space because there is enough scope in the market for multiple players. At the same time, we're trying to do something differently. We are trying to reimagine e-commerce as a referral commerce. And by that, we are trying to give some sort of a voice to the brand who's selling. A brand works very well on word of mouth publicity. And that is exactly what we are trying to bring through the idea of Team Grow. Yeah.
Excellent. We'll go into the poll now.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Rahul. And we will move into the last video we have for the day. WebMobi team, can we have the video for WebMobi play, please?
Hi, this is Sachin from WebMobi. We are an all-in-one engagement platform for events, enterprises, and universities. We offer more than 40 different modules that can be picked and packed for different use cases for enterprises. For example, corporate events, conferences, trade shows, internal employee engagement, and various other engagement use cases within an enterprise. You can also enable with our platform with virtual streaming, so you can have a full end-to-end solution around both in-person events, hybrid events, and virtual events. You can have different engagement features like announcements, crowdsourced queries, live streaming, and you can choose which feature you want to activate within the system. Now, with our streaming solution, we'll have like a very branded portal, so you can have everything customized. With multiple speakers, multiple concurrent sessions can be enabled, and you can have exhibitors who can generate leads. They can showcase their products very effectively and engage with the audience and effectively generate new leads. You can have one-on-one video calls with the exhibitors and have a detailed conversation around your offering. And complementing our virtual solution, we also give a very comprehensive native mobile apps for employee engagement. We have private social network and various other features for that. And we also give a 3D environment. This environment can be customized according to your branding requirements, and so it can be a very useful way for having like e-commerce transactions where you can have 3D booths. You have auditorium, a 3D auditorium as well. We with our mobile apps, we give you a very comprehensive branded experience. All of this can be customized, and you can choose which modules you want to have. Whether it's a survey, activity feed, leaderboard, gamification. You can enable gamification for internal employees, moderation as well, general leads. Very customized look and feel of the applications. Really awesome experience on that. Surveys, private social network. You can have mobile brochure and logistics for in-person events as well. Now, we also have like a really nice engagement with push notifications. You can continuously engage the audience, employees throughout the year. Reporting, we give a very comprehensive reporting. And really nice success stories, as you can see here. Branding with branded mobile apps, portals, and a really nice experience on that. Thank you.
Sachin, you can hear me?
Yes.
Yes. So, Sachin, for you, the questions are, which of the use cases has seen most traction for your product?
Yeah, so it depends on the industry. So, for example, if we talk about the retail industry, where you want to have say, for example, you want to have a engagement with a corporate for selling any specific retail products, you can use this environment to engage with the with corporates. So that's a great fit for this product, especially in that domain. So you can have a full end-to-end customized portal, 3D portal, where you can enable better showcasing of products and one-on-one. Especially with the pandemic, you can have everything remote, so you can have engagement in 3D booths with your own customized information that can be displayed, and you can engage with the prospects very effectively.
Sure. What makes it better or different from existing players?
Yeah, so we are offering a full all-in-one engagement platform.
Here's what I found.
With this engagement platform, you can choose and pick and pack different modules. We offer more than 40 different modules. So you can have a 3D environment where you can have a full immersive experience. You can have a 2D environment for smaller events, and we also offer engagement with the employees from the enterprise standpoint. So we are giving you a full suite of 40 different modules which can enable better engagement with our platform.
Okay. You have another question. What has been scale in terms of concurrent users for a particular virtual session or event?
Yeah. So we can support up to 1 million users concurrently, up to 17 speakers as well. So yeah, in terms of scalability, we are hosted on AWS. It's a very scalable and very secure environment.
Okay. What's your strategy to scale it up? Are you targeting specific geographies?
Yeah, so our focus has been primarily India market, where we have deployed a number of deployments in India, North America, and we have been getting recently a lot more traction in Australia and Middle East. Sure,
Sachin. Thank you. And we'll go into the poll now, please. So that brings us to the last of our demos for today. And this was a phenomenal 2 days for us at the Retail Tech Day. We've seen some excellent startups, and we look forward to building more traction for each of the startups who demoed here. And we'll continue to work closely with them. And thanks to all our partners, our speakers, our moderators, and of course, the team that's worked behind this, Team NASSCOM, as well as Rigger House team, who has helped us customize the platform and pull this all together. So thank you, everyone. And we look forward to being in touch, and do follow us on our handles. And we continue to look at how do we bring more meaningful conversations to you.